Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the Self in all beings. We start today's satsang with the prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of Muktaka trayam by Sri Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां वरदरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. Namo Ramana to everyone.
एकम अक्षरम हृदि निरन्तरम भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्. हृदयकुहर मध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति. हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. देहं ब्रह्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत् भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव. ओहं भावयुक्तः कुतो वरधियः दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति
We will now have the chanting of Upadesa Saram by Uma and Ashwini Balaji.
नमो रमण कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलं कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडं कृतिमहोददौ पतनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकं कायवाङ्मना कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगत ईषधी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृद्देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चमन्दत चित्तजं जप ध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया स्रोतसा समम् सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परम् भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनी मता भावशून्यसद् भावसुस्थिति भावना बलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मना स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधश्च निश्चितम् नमो रमण
Namo Ramana. We will now have Ramananjali Sangeetam presented by Srimati V. Radha along with Vallabh. Then we will have Savitri Krishnan and Jaisriram Krishnan presenting one more song. After that we will have Revathi Shankar singing the third song.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we have taken a song written by Sri Sadhuvam Swami, and the Kannada translation is by Sri R.N.J. Gopal, and the music is by Sri H.K. Narayana. चित्शक्ति रमणेश दैवदलि दैवा चित्शक्ति रमणेश दैवदलि दैवा चित्शक्ति रमणेश दैवदलि दैवा चित्शक्ति रमणेश दैवदलि दैवा ಮನದಿಂದ ಮಾಯದ ಬೇರನ್ನು ಎಳೆವ ಮನದಿಂದ ಮಾಯದ ಬೇರನ್ನು ಎಳೆವ ಆತ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರದ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಕೊಡೋ ದೈವ ಆತ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರದ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಕೊಡೋ ದೈವ ಚಿತ್ಶಕ್ತಿ ರಮಣೇಶ ದೈವದಲಿ ದೈವ ಚಿತ್ಶಕ್ತಿ ರಮಣೇಶ ದೈವದಲಿ ದೈವ ಕಣ್ಕಂಡ ದೈವ ಶರಣ ಕೊಡೋ ದೈವ ಸ್ಥಿರವಾದ ಧೈರ್ಯವ ಪಡೆಯುವುದೇ ಜೀವ ಕಣ್ಕಂಡ ದೈವ ಶರಣ ಕೊಡೋ ದೈವ ಸ್ಥಿರವಾದ ಧೈರ್ಯವ ಪಡೆಯುವುದೇ ಜೀವ ಚರಣದ ಸ್ಥಾನವನ್ನು ತಂದಂತ ದೈವ ಸೇವೆಗೆ ನಾ ತರುವೆ ಭಕ್ತಿಯನು ಹೂವ ಚಿತ್ಶಕ್ತಿ ರಮಣೇಶ ದೈವದಲಿ ದೈವ ಚಿತ್ಶಕ್ತಿ ರಮಣೇಶ ದೈವದಲಿ ದೈವ ಮೂಜಗವೆತ ಹಾಡಿ ಹೊಗಳುವ ದೈವ ಮಮತೆಯ ಕ್ಷೀರವನ್ನು ನೀಡುವ ದೈವ ಮೂಜಗವೆತ ಹಾಡಿ ಹೊಗಳುವ ದೈವ ಮಮತೆಯ ಕ್ಷೀರವನ್ನು ನೀಡುವ ದೈವ ವೀರಾದಿ ವೀರರಿಗೆ ಸತ್ವವೇ ದೈವ ಮಲಗಿರುವ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೆ ತೋರದಿಯ ದೈವ ಚಿತ್ಶಕ್ತಿ ರಮಣೇಶ ದೈವದಲಿ ದೈವ ಚಿತ್ಶಕ್ತಿ ರಮಣೇಶ ದೈವದಲಿ ದೈವ ಎಲ್ಲವನು ಬಲ್ಲವನು ನಿಲುಕದ ದೈವ ಬಂಧನವ ಬಿಟ್ಟವಗೆ ಒಲಿಯುವ ದೈವ ಎಲ್ಲವನು ಬಲ್ಲವನು ನಿಲುಕದ ದೈವ ಬಂಧನವ ಬಿಟ್ಟವಗೆ ಒಲಿಯುವ ದೈವ ಕೀರ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಹಾಡುವರ ಭಕ್ತಿ ಸಾಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಜಾಡಿ ಒಲಿವ ಸದಾನಂದ दैव चित्शक्ति रमणेश दैव दलि 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 दैव दैव दलि दैव दैव दलि दैव. நமோ ரமண.
வாழ்கவே பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே மெய்யுணர்ந்து முற்று நீத்த மெய்யன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே உய்யும் வழியை உளவார் உணர்த்தும் முரவோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. ரிரி சனி சரி சனி சரி கம ப மகம பன்வா கம ப ப மகம பனி பனி சனி பமரி சவான் போர் கை மாறும் வேண்டாம் வள்ளல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே தேன் போலி நிற்கும் திருவாக்குள்ள தேவன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. நீ சனி பனி பமரி சரி கம பம கம பனி சரி சானி மகம பனி நாரென பாரணியம் விரென்று நவிதோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே தானாய் விட்டால் துயர் போம் என்னும் சாந்தன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே பானி பம பனி பாப மம மரி சரி கம நி சரி சனி நி சரி சனி பம ஆசையுடனான் அலனின் ஞானம் அழிப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ஈசன் மேலே சுவையும் போடென்றிசைப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சப மாரி சரி சரி கம மகம பனி சனி சரி சனி பமகம பமரி எப்பாரத்தையுமே குமிரை திருப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே செப்பிய வழியில் நின்றிடு என்னும் சீரோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சனி பரி சகம பமரி சமகம ப சனி ப மக பமனி பசனி சனி சரி சரி சனி பசனி பம பமகமரி கடவுட்செயலும் எல்லா என்றும் கதி போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே கெடுப்பது அகமே வேடரவென்று கிளப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சாசனி சரி 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 கம மரி சாரி நீ பனி மப மரி சனி பமரி சனி சரி நான் என்றெழுமேது அது மனமென்று நவிவோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ஞான திருஷ்டி அதன் லயம் என்று நடிப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ni pa pa ma ma ri 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 sa pa ma ma ga ma pa pa sa ni pa ma ri ri sa சபமபா இறையருளின்றியாதொன்றும் சத்தியமாக சித்தியாது அதனால் தான் எதுவும் சிந்தியாதிருவென்றுரை போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சரி சரி கமரி சரி சரி ப நி சரி சரி சாரி நி ச பரி சனி நி ப மம ரி ச நி பாரி ரி ச நி ச காக்கும் ரமணன் கைவிடுவானோ கருணையம் பெறும் கடலன்றோ பேரருளில் ஒரு குறைவில்லை என்னும் பரமன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே பசனி பாசா சரி சா பமரி சரி சனி பாபா பனி நிரி சரி சனி பனி மப பனி பசானி பா தலைவனும் மான தற்பர ரமண சத்குரு பாதம் வாழ்கவே தாய் தந்தையாகி இணையிலா ரமண அழகன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ 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 ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ நமோ பொறுமை கினியோ ரூபமயிலா பரிபூரணமோ நமோ நமோ போலியுருவாங்கி ஓபாதியை போக்கும் குருவே நமோ நமோ பௌர்ணமி ஒளி குறையும் குறையாவரு பௌர்ணமி வதனா நமோ நமோ மனமழித்தான் மாமய ஒளியாகும் வரிஷ்ட ரமணா நமோ நமோ மாயமரவே ரமணாய நமோ வெனும் மந்திர வடிவே நமோ நமோ மின்னலொளி கதிர் பின்னிட விதயம் மின்னக ஜோதி நமோ 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 ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ 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 ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ நமோ ஓம் நமோ
भगवते श्री रमणाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Bhagavan Ramana gives us the path of self-enquiry to attain self-knowledge, to get back to ourself. But every time we try and sit for dhyana or meditation to get back to the self, there are thoughts, hundreds and thousands of thoughts which rise. So that is when we go away from the self. That is when we move away from Ramana. Here the poet Dr. Lakshminarayana Bhatta says, "Don't put me far away from you, Bhagavan. Let me not get thoughts. Keep me at your feet always. If you bring thoughts into my mind, then it will be a very difficult scene for me. It is very, very difficult to understand this by the state of mind which we are in, by the mind itself, the limited mind." He says, the mind cannot understand the unlimited self. So, Bhagavan himself came to us and made us understand this path. And now, if he gives us this state of thought, we are moving away from Bhagavan. And how is it possible for me to stay without Bhagavan once he is in my life? Many sadhus and saints have done puja to Bhagavan, have worshipped Bhagavan. And I have come to him, and now, like a mad woman, like a mad person, I have been going behind Bhagavan, but Bhagavan just puts me away by giving many thoughts. What will be my state? Says the poet here. Oh, Akadanka Arunachala, I will only scold you if you are just putting me away like this, says the poet here in this beautiful song. This song is written by Dr. Lakshmi Narayana Bhatta, and the music is by H.K. Narayana. ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಿ ಗಳಿಸಬೇಡ ಕ್ರೂರಿಯೆಂಬ ಮಾತನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ. ನಮ್ಮ ಮತಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯದಂತೆ ಏಳು ಬೀಳ ತರುವನು, ನಮ್ಮ ಶ್ರದ್ಧೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆಯಲಿ ಆ ದೇವದೇವನು, ನಮ್ಮ ಮತಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯದಂತೆ ಏಳು ಬೀಳ ತರುವನು, ನಮ್ಮ ಶ್ರದ್ಧೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆಯಲಿ ಆ ದೇವದೇವನು, ರಮಣನಾಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಅವನೇ ಬಳಿ ಸೆಳೆದನು, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಲೀಗ ಅವನ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾನು ಬಿಡುವೆನು, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಿ ಗಳಿಸಬೇಡ ಕ್ರೂರಿಯೆಂಬ ಮಾತನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ. ಸಾಧು ಸಂತ ಭಕ್ತರೆಲ್ಲ ಪೂಜಿಸಿದ ದೇವನು, ರಮಣನಾಗಿ ಇಳಿದು ಈ ಹುಚ್ಚನನ್ನು ಒಲಿದನು, ಸಾಧು ಸಂತ ಭಕ್ತರೆಲ್ಲ ಪೂಜಿಸಿದ ದೇವನು, ರಮಣನಾಗಿ ಇಳಿದು ಈ ಹುಚ್ಚನನ್ನು ಒಲಿದನು, ಒಲಿಸೀಗ ನೂಕಿದರೆ ಹುಚ್ಚನೀಗ ಬಿಡುವನೇ, ಅಕಳಂಕ ಅರುಣಾಚಲ ನಿನ್ನ ಬೈಯದಿರುವನೇ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಿ ಗಳಿಸಬೇಡ ಕ್ರೂರಿಯೆಂಬ ಮಾತನ, ದೂರ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ರಮಣ ನಿನ್ನ ಈ ದಾಸನ. Namo Ramana. We will now have the reading and sharing of the book Bhagavan Ramana, Resplendent Sun by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment for Satsang, we continue our readings from Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, The Resplendent Sun, Angles of Vision, written and compiled by our founder president, Shri A.R. Natarajanji. Today, we are about to read a contribution by our founder president, Shri A.R. Natarajanji himself, a practical guide on the Ramana way to know yourself. An introduction. A practical guide on the Ramana way to know yourself. An introduction by Shri A.R. Natarajan. The crowded mind. What we know is activity, relationships, attachment to ideas. We feel dull, unwanted, and out of place when left alone, when there is nothing to do. Aren't we scared stiff when there are no thoughts? For us, thinking is natural. We carry a heavy load of purposeless thoughts. Purposeless because they have no essential connection functionally to our daily life. There is also the load of the past with its hurts and failures, its experience brought into the present by thinking about those ashes of memory. Escapist thoughts, wafting one away from the reality of the present, occupy the mental horizon. The mind is so crowded that it is like a village bazaar on a shanty day, or a small railway platform on a day when trains are running late. There is no elbow room at all. Don't we want to be free from the stifling atmosphere of this mental babble? The answer is yes and no. Yes for the unwanted thoughts, no for the thoughts we label as pleasant, happy memories, the rosy future. Whether we admit it or not, we do not wish to be altogether free of thoughts. If we cannot be rid of unpleasant thoughts, we would rather live with them than lose also the thoughts which we like to hug, which we hold dear. He's saying that we, even by paying the price of being unhappy, we will hold on to the unhappy thoughts for fear of losing the ones which we like to hold and hug. He says. The fear of what would happen if we were to be thought-free is strong, and the stark reality of this fear cannot be overstated. He sums up the crowded mind today by saying, the fear of what would happen if we were to be thought-free is strong, and the stark reality of this fear cannot be overstated. The next subheading is the silent mind and natural joy. It is precisely here that Sadguru Ramana steps in, and his direct experience of a state in which the mind is wholly silent, the state in which one is bubbling with joy. Ramana's life itself is the best example of what he is communicating, of what he is teaching. It gives one enough confidence, enough faith to make one give it a chance, to give it a try. Bhagavan's example, the author says, it gives us the motivation required to go for this, to go for thought-free basis as the home in which we live. It gives one enough confidence, enough faith to make one give it a chance, to give it a try. The hope that we too may be able to share this beatitude is the starting point of this adventure. It is an adventure, for unless we have the courageous spirit, the determination, the strong urge to find out, we can never find out, we can never get out of our old grooves. Nor can we look for a new way of life, a new approach to things which would make each moment beautiful. No radical transformation is possible unless one learns to live in the present. For all experience is in the present. This presupposes an ability to be free of thoughts, a capacity to cut off the mental movements to the past and to the future. We learn the art of living in the present from Ramana. He never tires of affirming that it is possible to do so because our natural state is one of silence. What is the adhara? What is the support that Bhagavan gives? He says that we learn the art of living in the present from Ramana. He never tires of affirming that it is possible to do so, to live in the present, because our natural state is one of silence. It is natural for one to be in that silence. Thoughts are only on the surface when needed, but deep down there is the overwhelming silence, the vast space uncluttered by any thought. It is not given, and therefore one cannot be deprived of it. Somebody does not come and give this deep silence. It's already everyone's birthright. Therefore, nobody can take it away from us. If so, the question would arise as to what obstructs our awareness of this, of it, the deep silence. It is our ignorance of our true self. The author says we are unable to find this deep silence, which is our nature, because we are ignorant of who we are. It is our ignorance of our true self. The solution, therefore, is in self-knowledge, in finding out the truth about oneself. Knowing oneself is the thing which alone matters. One's knowledge, however vast, is about objects, about the universe. In contrast, one is ignorant about the subject, the seer, about the one on whom the whole world of the seen is dependent. Ramana would therefore emphasize the primacy of self-knowledge as it holds the key to one's happiness. Why? Because it enables the discovery of one's own natural state. One might say that one is presently in the habitual state in which primacy is given to thinking. Happiness is located now in objects, and one is afraid to be without activity and thoughts. Consequently, restlessness is one's lot. In contrast, in the natural state, the mind is totally silent, free of thoughts, but yet super sharp. Consequently, restlessness is one's lot. In contrast, in the natural state, the mind is totally silent, free of thoughts, but yet super sharp. Thinking and thoughts would be purely functional. There would be no thought hangovers or carry forwards. Happiness would be perceived to be inherent, to be within. As a consequence, one would be immersed in peace, a peace which is undisturbed by activity. Happiness would be perceived to be inherent, to be within. As a consequence, one would be immersed in peace, a peace which is undisturbed by activity. Next subheading, attention to the subject I. Attention to the subject I. For self-knowledge, one has to begin by inquiring about or paying attention to the subject I. Necessarily, it means withdrawing attention from the objects, which are its present focus, and turning the attention on itself. I'll repeat that. For self-knowledge, one has to begin by inquiring about or paying attention to the subject I. Necessarily, it means withdrawing attention from the objects, which are its present focus, and turning that attention on itself. Before going into the question of what the shifting of attention from objects to the subject means, one needs to examine what we take the subject to be. What do we take we are? Then the further question of the fallacy, if any, in our assumptions about has also to be inquired into. Fallacy means the falsity. Then the further question of the fallacy, if any, in our assumptions about who we are, we take, has also to be inquired into. We take ourselves to be a particular name and form, or we identify ourselves with the mind. We take ourselves to be a particular name and form, or we identify ourselves with the mind. One might ask, what is wrong with these notions? Let us examine the three states of daily existence: waking, dream, and sleep. So far as the waking state is concerned, our assumption might appear to be correct, that we are this body, we are that identity. But what about sleep and dream states? As for the dream state, though sometimes the identity remains the same as that of the waking state, it could well be and is often different. In the dream, we may have the same identity sometimes, but not necessarily always. It could be a different identity. A rich and powerful king Somadatta may be Ponnaya, a beggar in tattered clothes, not knowing where his next meal would come from, and so on. The dreamer is not the one who is awake because the identity is different. As for sleep, the eye of the waking state is absent. There is no Shankar or Sri Devi to answer, since the particular identity is absent. Can we really be that which we are not in two of our daily states of existence, which is dream and sleep? Can we be this which we are not in our daily two states of in dream we are not this, in sleep we are not this? Then can this name and form, this identity with the mind, can it be real? Can it be we? Can it be me? Asks the author. The absence of the sense of individuality in sleep would also confirm one's doubt that there is more to us than our assumed individuality. For we cannot be that which comes and goes. There cannot be a break in consciousness. I'll read that once again. How beautifully the author focuses on where we presently are, and then we'll move on to the sadhana later. The last paragraph once again, and then we can close. The absence of the sense of individuality in sleep would also confirm one's doubt that there is more to us than our assumed individuality. For we cannot be that which comes and goes. The individuality itself comes and it's not there in deep sleep. There can be no break in consciousness, but we have this feeling we are there in all the three states. Then what is it that is having no break in all the three states? Let the author unravel it for us. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the manana on self-enquiry and the practice also guided by Sri Dileep Simha.
ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरम् योगासनाध्यासितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षादात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनस्कं आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. Namo Ramana. We will commence the Atma Vicharam by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading his Upadesham from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai, from the chapter Investigation into the Truth. The topic is only self-knowledge is true knowledge. Verse 420. The consciousness that ignores the self, whose nature is pure consciousness, and which regards perceived objects as real, is false. It is ignorance brought about by Maya. Though one may learn all that one desires, true knowledge is only the complete elimination of all such conceptual and differentiated objective knowledge, and its total transformation into self alone is the direct experience of one's real nature, the non-dual, pure consciousness. I repeat the verse. The consciousness that ignores the self, whose nature is pure consciousness, and which regards perceived objects as real, is false. It is ignorance brought about by Maya. Though one may learn all that one desires, true knowledge is only the complete elimination of all such conceptual and differentiated objective knowledge, and its total transformation into self alone is the direct experience of one's real nature, the non-dual pure consciousness. Here, Bhagavan, as beautifully read out to us by Nandakumarji, is bringing the error that is happening. Though there is only a conscious experience at all times, except maybe in sleep, even there we can say that we have a conscious experience of nothing being present. So, though it is a conscious experience at all times, what we are constantly doing is attending it, giving it an objective experience. We are seeking an objective experience, something as an object available for us to pay attention to. This Bhagavan calls is the Maya. That is because it has created, it is about to create a difference, or it has emerged because there is a sense of difference. There exists a seer and a seen, the idea, a false thing. Though everything is one self, we see this differentiation, and therefore, we think that it is real, that I am separate as a seer and the object which is seen is separate from me, and therefore this division persists, and Bhagavan calls this as the falsity or the Maya. And all we need to do is eliminate this and see everything as nothing but one self. It is only the one self which has manifested. Like the clay itself has become all the pot and the vessels and everything. And even if you break all the vessels, it turns out to be only clay. Like that, the pure consciousness, the pure existence, itself is the existence of all object. Otherwise, the objects wouldn't have existence. It is only that which is appearing due to a imagination as a separate object, but it derives its existence, everything from the pure existence. It is consciousness which is cognized by the pure consciousness. When we recognize that everything is nothing but the self, so the direct experience of being that pure consciousness and letting go all objective experience is becoming one with everything. And even one with everything when we call about the manifested transient thing that appears. That is the true way to become one with everything. When this happens, and Bhagavan says that one experiences one real nature, the non-dual pure consciousness. Until such time, every time a differences rise as subject-object, either subtly as a form of a thought or very gross as worldly objects and everything, we should diligently inquire to whom is this. Thereupon, it becomes clear it is for me. That is the first and the foremost division, as I being a separate entity from this one self which we always are experiencing. That needs to be inquired. Who am I? When we say trace that I, that individual back to its source, the origin, Bhagavan says then and there, this objective consciousness which is trying to see everything as divided merges in that pure consciousness, and we experience that non-dual state, and that is the real experience of oneself. That is the experience of the one pure consciousness. With the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path, which not only reveals the error where we make in seeing objective differences, and at the same time, only by eliminating the error, reveals that what is only pure one consciousness, here and now. And therefore, the Atma Vichara is the direct way to experience that truth which alone is, and to prune the wrong knowledge, the ignorance that rises because of Maya or wrong knowledge. The immense grace of Bhagavan. For the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara.
Namo Ramana. We will now have a sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Dhanamulam Guru Bhakti Puja Mulam Guru Mantramulam Vakyam Mokshamulam Guru Mokshamulam Guru Ramana. We're doing Manana on Atma Bodha, and we actually did Manana the last satsang on the verse number 14, where I said we talked about the causal body. So we had the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. You know, it's so funny that we have been we look at ourselves. When you look at yourself, you see only the physical body. You don't see the other bodies at all. You know, you only see the physical body and the pains and the great things that happen with the physical body. But we don't see the subtle body. We don't see the causal body. And now there are going to be additional dimensions that get added to these layers. It's quite amazing. So he says that the ignorance, avidya, which is beginningless and indescribable, is called the causal body. One should understand the Atman to be other than the three conditioning bodies. Vedanta declares that the all-pervading Brahman, which is one without a second, alone is real, and the entire world of plurality is unreal. The Atman, the Supreme Self, in an individual is the same as Brahman. When you realize the Self, you experience the infinite, all-pervading Brahman. As long as the Self is not realized, the non-apprehension of the Self creates the misapprehensions of a pluralistic world which you experience in the waking and dream states of consciousness. Says the word beginning associated with time, beginningless, denotes something beyond the boundary of time. Time is related to experiences. If there are no experiences, the concept of time is lost, as in the state of deep sleep. Time is measured by the interval between two experiences. Additionally, what it says, avidya is also indicated as indescribable. It is the causal body which produces the subtle and gross bodies containing the human instruments of experience. These instruments enable man to experience and describe the sense objects. Having thus analyzed and explained the gross, subtle, and causal body, Atma, the core of the human personality, is indicated as something other than these material equipments. The gross, subtle, and causal bodies by themselves are inert and insentient. So the very important thing that we learned in the last three verses. So let's do manana on the verse number 15 today, and I request Sapna to kindly chant the verses for us.
Yes, sir. पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिकह्यता पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिकायता. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. So this is a frightening new information that we are getting here. Is on account of its union with the five sheets, pure Atman appears to be like them, just as crystal takes after the color, blue cloth, etc., when in contact with him. So we thought that we had to deal only with three bodies. But now in this verse, we will get to know we have to deal with five koshas. And imagine, it says that the human personality comprises the Atman and the five layers of matter enveloping it. These layers of matters are called koshas, the sheets. The five sheets, pancha koshas, a food sheet, annamaya kosha. The vital air sheet, which is the pranamaya kosha. The mental sheath, which is the manomaya kosha. Intellectual sheath, which is the Vijnanamaya kosha, and the bliss sheath, which is the Anandamaya kosha. So imagine, when we say we have to, when you are doing self-enquiry, we say you have to transcend all this. So imagine what all you need to transcend. It's like going in a ship. When you're going in a ship from one port to another port, you do not know what is below that. There may be sharks there may be big fish there may be all sorts of creatures which are all there. But just being on the ship, you don't know what is below that. It's exactly that same experience here, where we really do not know what is there within. And Bhagavan has given this beautiful thing of doing self-enquiry and quieting. When you quieten that, what happens to all the sheets? You transcend all these sheets. Otherwise, imagine, we have to transcend the three bodies or transcend all the sheets, five sheets. And it will be such a huge challenge. Oh, I have moved. It's like the chakra business. A lot of people watch the chakras going, oh, I moved from this chakra to that chakra to another chakra. And then if you're stuck somewhere, gone case. You're stuck in that chakra. And you do not know how many lives you will be stuck in the same chakra. So Bhagavan says, all this is in your mind. So important thing is we have to go beyond all this by doing self-enquiry. So they are all called sheaths because like a sheath or scabbard covering a sword, they conceal the Atman. They have no real contact with the Atman, just as a scabbard has no contact with the sword. They are figuratively described as one inside the other. The food sheath, which is the Annamaya kosha, being the outermost, and the bliss sheath, the innermost. The idea of one being inside the other, another is meant to indicate that each inner sheath is subtler than the outer. So we know that beautiful example when we see a glass, and we have the eye that sees the glass, you drop the cursor, drop the glass, and the eye is subtler, and I drop the eye because the mind is subtler, and I drop the mind because the intellect is subtler, and then you go in and you with the consciousness, which actually powers everything. So exactly the same thing. In this also he says that the different five sheets, one is subtler than the other is subtler than the other. So as a subtler entity permeates the grosser, so too the subtler sheath permeates the grosser sheath. When the vital air sheath is said to be inside the food sheath, it only means that the former is subtler than the latter and therefore permeates it. Similarly, each inner sheath permeates the outer sheath. Atman being the subtlest of them all, permeates all. So Atman is immaculate. It can never be contaminated by the layers of matter and enveloping it. As a result of his identification with these material layers, the properties of the latter are superimposed upon the Atman. Thus you assume yourself to be your body, mind and intellect. In fact, these are only the equipments possessed by you. The possessor and the possessed cannot be one and the same. I'll repeat this. It says, thus you assume yourself to be your body, mind and intellect. In fact, these are only the equipments possessed by you. The possessor and the possessed cannot be one and the same. The equipments are distinct and separate from your real self, which is the Atman, but your identification with them is so complete that you have become one with them. You feel and declare that you are warm or cold when your body is warm or cold. Similarly, you proclaim that you are joyous or sad when your mind is joyous or sad. You are brilliant or dull when your intellect is brilliant or dull. Remove such false superimposition and come to experience the absolute infinite nature of the Atman. Reflect carefully upon and analyze the 5 layers of matter. Detach yourself gradually from the influence of each one of them. The discrimination of the 5 superimposed layers of personality and recognition of your real nature as the Supreme Self is termed as discrimination of the 5 sheaths, which is Pancha Kosha Viveka. So Viveka is extremely important. This phenomena of identification and superimposition is illustrated by the similes of the crystal and the blue cloth. A colorless sheet of glass appears blue in color by virtue of its association with a blue cloth. The blue color is superimposed upon the glass because of its identification with the cloth. In reality, glass is colorless. So too the immaculate Atman appears differently to the ignorant because of superimposition of the material layers upon it. We know, for example, when we were young, our parents used to tell us, always be in good company. Why is it to be in good company? Because you learn good things from other children who have good behavior or study well or do extracurricular activities. You learn good things. Same thing as a sadhana also. In spirituality today, everybody says, don't go and spend time with worldly people. Well, what will they speak? They will talk about the elections that's coming. They will talk about somebody who's so rich. They will talk about something that's going to happen. Why is the war happening? All the unnecessary things. They'll talk about what's happening on the TV or on the newspaper. So if you keep on going with such people, what will happen? It'll go on rubbing into you. And then what happens? It's like if you go to an incense factory where they make all these incense sticks, say agarbatti sticks. So you go into a factory, what happens? When you come out, your clothes will be all smelling of the incense, of the agarbatti. Why? Because it takes on very, very quickly. So Bhagavan says that's why satsang is very important, to be able to remind us that you should have clear focus, the purpose of this life, and to be able to understand the truth. Viveka, again, Bhagavan is talking about Panchakosha Viveka, that the Viveka is so very, very important for us to keep us on the right track, to be not move away too much into the world of Nama and Rupa. Once you go into that, then you can get lost because it looks so dazzling, it looks so beautiful. So the important thing is we as devotees of Bhagavan have been given Brahmastra called the Who Am I, by which all we can transcend all the three bodies, we can transcend the five koshas, and be established in the self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Ramanacentre by Sri Ujwal Jagadeesh.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We have been meditating on the verses of Ramanacentre written by Ganapati Muni, and they have been compiled in this format and given to us by Bhagavan Ramana himself. And we also know that it is being chanted every day at the Ramana Sannidhi at Ramanashramam. And in this verse that we are meditating, Ganapati Muni starts with this set of verses saying that, "O Ramana, it is your grace that brings success," remembering that God's power which makes everything possible, which brings success in every endeavor. We remember that God's power and begin this meditation. Prasaratadita shubhavilokitam Ramanate sakrit phalatu me kritam Ramana janmina mai bhavan guru abhidashaya tava mahanuru jagadaham para spurati me trayam sadabidam gira tava visamshayam Vadupadeshato galati samvidha mairiranyaya sadahamorbida nakaruna guna ramana stava vidampate ramana hridayate jasa ramana sahaja vaivate ramana harisu nannede ninna karune notava ramanane sukritavu ಫಲವಗಳಿಸಲಿ ರಮಣನೆ ಗುರು ಸಕಲ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೂ ಅಭೇದ ಅನಂತವು ನಿನ್ನ ಹೃದಯವು ಜಗಜೀವ ಪರ ಮೂರಾಗಿ ಸ್ಫುರಿಸದೆ ಏಕಾತ್ಮವಾಗಿದೆ ತವ ನುಡಿ ನಿಸ್ಸಂಶಯ ತ್ವದುಪದೇಶದಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಅರಳಿತು ನನಗೆ ಸತ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಇರುವ ಭೇದ ಅಳಿಯಿತು ತ್ವದುಪದೇಶದಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಅರಳಿತು ನನಗೆ ಸತ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಇರುವ ಭೇದ ಅಳಿಯಿತು ಕರುಣೆ ಗುಣವಲ್ಲ ರಮಣ ನಿನಗೆ ಒಡೆಯನೇ ರಮಣ ಹೃದಯದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ರಮಣ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ ರಮಣ. Ganapati Muni is telling, "O Ramana, it is by your Upadesha that I have understood that the Jaga, Jiva and the Para. Jaga is the world and the Jiva is the individual and the Para is the God, the supreme power. I have understood by your Upadesha without any doubt that all these differences are only imagination or illusion. The truth is that there is only one Atma Tattva. To reveal this truth, you have given the Upadesha. We all feel that this world is very, very real and we are part of this world. And if we find something, what we want, if we get in the world, we are filled with happiness and joy. And if somebody who is very, very dear to us goes away from us, we are filled with sorrow. This thinking that this world is separate from us only brings the duality of pleasure and sorrow. And nothing is permanent. It keeps moving. One moment you are happy, and the next moment the world makes you sad. So one such devotee who had lost his son at a very, very young age, he was filled with sorrow, and he came to Bhagavan Ramana and was crying in his presence, and none can console him because he was filled with so much of grief that he had lost his son. And Ramana, with his compassion, the compassion which is not his quality but which is his svabhava, his very nature, Ramana spoke to that devotee and told, your son is in the heart. Because the world that we see is only in our mind. When the mind arises, the world arises. When the mind subsides, then the world also subsides. So where is this mind? Where is the world? World is in the mind. From where does this mind arise? If one inquires, one realizes that the mind is only a flow of thoughts, and every thought that which rises, which makes this, which projects this world, which is so much of variety and differences, all these thoughts arise from its source, which is the heart. So Ramana says, get back to the heart, enter the heart. The world is only in the mind. To reveal this truth, he tells us a story. There were two people, Rama and Krishna, and they planned to go to far away, the Kashi Nagara. Long time back, the Kashi Nagara was said to be very, very prosperous city where people used to go for business and earn a lot of money. Just like how we have people going to various foreign countries to on-site to make money, these two, Rama and Krishna, had planned to go to Kashi Nagara to make fortune. And it was taking longer than they had decided. So they were into the business. So after many, many days, one of them who was surviving sent a message through a messenger. And that messenger came to the village from which Rama and Krishna had come. And he went to Rama's family and told, your Rama is doing very, very well. He is earning a lot of money and he will finish all his work there and come back with a lot of wealth. He told that to Rama's family. And when Krishna's family asked the messenger, is there any message from Krishna? Then the messenger reported, I'm very, very sorry. Krishna expired due to some illness and he is not coming. So the family of Krishna was filled with grief, and Rama's family was rejoicing that Rama is surviving and he is flourishing and he is going to bring a lot of wealth to the family and joy to the family. And Rama's family was waiting for Rama to come, and Krishna's family was mourning. But one day what happened? Krishna returned from the Kashi Nagara, and the Krishna's family who was mourning, they were filled with joy and surprise, and they were shocked. Krishna, you are alive. We heard from the messenger that you were dead. You were unwell and you expired, and we were filled with so much of sorrow. And the Rama's family who was rejoicing, they heard this news. What? Krishna is alive and Rama is the one who has expired. They who were rejoicing until now were filled with sorrow. So Ramana says, where is Rama and where is Krishna? We may say that they are in Kashi Nagara, but the truth was that Krishna was there, Rama was expired, Rama was not there. But in the minds of the Rama's family, Rama was there. because the messenger had brought this message that Rama was flourishing, and for the Krishna's family, although Krishna was there living in Kashi Nagara, he was not there for the Krishna's family. So the whole world is only in the mind. If we think that we have something, we have it. If we think we do not have that, then we do not have. So what is the reality of the world? The world is non-existent. It is only an illusion, but it is this power within us, the I, which is shining, which projects this earth, which rises as the mind, and it projects the world, and the whole world is only in the mind. So if we understand this truth completely, then we understand the world is only within us, and it is not without. When we understand who we really are, when we understand who is this Jiva, what is the source of this Jiva Tattva, then one understands that the whole world is contained in the heart. And in the heart, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatram Yahamahamiti Sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati. In the heart, when we enter the heart, we realize that the Brahman, the Supreme, is shining within as I. So this Upadesha of Ramana has made it so clear that there is no differences of Jaga Jiva Para. We are all one. There is only one Atma Tattva, which because of our illusion, because of our ignorance, appears to be varied. Just like how the sunlight is only made up of white light, but when it passes through the prism, it spreads out as the 7 colors of the rainbow. When the light of the self, it emerges through the prism of the mind, we see the varied colors of the world. But when we turn the attention back, not through outside the prism, but towards the source of the light, which is the heart, then we understand that we are the one Atma Tattva. Yeppodum ullado ekanma vastuve, ullado ekanma vastuve. We understand this truth that what exists is only one Atma Tattva. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Ramana Ashtottara by Dr. Sarada. Ramana Ashtottaram is written by Sri Vishwanatha Swami.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on the 108 names of Bhagavan, the litany of 108 names composed by Vishwanatha Swami in Sanskrit. It is called the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali and the Ramana Ashtottara Stotram. And in this Stotram, in these 108 names, we are meditating on that aspect of Bhagavan which has been highlighted by Vishwanatha Swami in his early years of stay at Tiruvannamalai. This 108 names, this litany, is in the form of, almost in the form of a biography, a brief biography of Bhagavan. And so we have covered the Bhagavan's birthplace, the glory of the birthplace, the glory of his enlightenment, his coming to Arunachala, the beauty of his journey to Arunachala, and the early years of his stay here. And we are now meditating on the Nama Chutavatyam Samasenaya Nama, having looked at a string of adjectives which Vishwanatha Swami gives to Bhagavan. concluding with the adjectives Phullambuja Vilochanaya Namaha, Chandrika Sitahasa Shri Manditanana Mandalaya Namaha, which precede the Nama Chutavatyam Samasinaya Namaha. And we looked at how Bhagavan, having stayed in various places in the Arunachaleshwara temple, he was invited to come to Gurumurtam by Annamalai Tambiran, and Uddandi Nayanar joined in that request. And after his coming to Gurumurtam, Parani Swami came to stay with Bhagavan as his permanent attendant. He was inspired to come there on the words of a devotee who said, instead of constantly serving in the temple of Lord Ganesha, go and serve the live God at Gurumuktam. Ganesha himself is alive and seated there. That is the God you are worshipping here. He himself is seated there. So saying, he exhorted actually Parani Swami to go and serve Bhagavan Ramana. Initially, Parani Swami used to continue his daily worship, his seva at the Ganesha temple in Tiruvannamalai, and later he decided that, or he felt inspired to intuitively know that this seva to Bhagavan alone is his life's purpose, and so he stayed with Bhagavan. And when he stayed with Bhagavan, then at Gurumurtam, he offered his seva to him, took care of his bodily needs, to the extent that he would beg for food and bring it and see to it that, mainly see to it that others did not disturb him too much. So, the owner of the mango orchard, Chutavatika, next to the Gurumurtam temple, felt that he should provide the Swami with even more privacy, and so he allowed him to stay in this mango orchard along with Parani Swami, and he provided some 2 small huts, thatched shelters, one for each of them, in which they managed. And it was here that Bhagavan's uncle Nelliyappayar came to see him, as the news had reached Bhagavan's mother and uncle. We saw how the news reached them, and Nelliyappayar came there, and he was not allowed to enter, because that was the point of Bhagavan being in the Chutavatika. The owner had given strict instructions to the guard, the one who was guarding the orchard, not to let in anyone. But since Nelliyappayar pleaded that he is Bhagavan's uncle, the guard said, write a note. Then he had some paper with him. He took out, it looks like they were all very creative in those days. We find Bhagavan's uncle Nelliyappayar taking a prickly pear from nearby, taking a sharp object, cutting that and making it into a pen. That prickly pear had red juice. He dips it in that, and then he writes Nelliyappayar, Mana Madurai, he writes and sends it in to Bhagavan. And Bhagavan, who was Kushagradhi, very sharp, is the one abiding in the self. His intellect is perfectly clear, because a pure reflection of the self. There are no clouds, there are no distractions, nothing at all. So immediately he not only recognized that this note is from his uncle, paternal uncle, Chittappa, the elder Chittappa. He also noticed that the note was written behind the office, the municipal office where Naga, his elder brother Nagaswami, was employed. So he understood Nagaswami has found employment. That means the situation of the family is not that bad. And so uncle has come here that is also fine. But though he noticed all this, he did not mention anything. He did not show any response to Nelliyapayar other than permitting him to come and see him. And Nelliyapayar, of course, he saw this young boy, Venkataraman, very different from the young lad whom he had known. Here he was, wearing only one loin cloth. His body is covered with grime and dust. His hair was thick and matted. His nails had grown long and curled. But he could see, because he was a spiritual person, he could see that there was some great, he could make out there was a great determination in this young boy. And though he pleaded and pleaded with him to return home, and he said that we will take care of you, there is a temple nearby, you can come and stay there, you can continue your austerities. It is only that we want to take care of your bodily needs. We as a family would like you to be near us so that we can take care of your bodily needs. But, of course, Bhagavan remained unmoved. Churnita Akhila Vibramaya Namaha. He who destroyed all illusions. So, here he destroyed the uncle's illusion of being able to take him back. And further, he was to destroy Mother Aragamma's illusion also in that direction. Because soon after Nelliyapayar came and visited him and left, Bhagavan moved away from the mango orchard. And see, this mango orchard was there. Then later there is the mango tree cave, where for many days Ganapati Muni would stay, and the beautiful interaction between Ganapati Muni and Bhagavan for a long period took place in that mango tree cave, Maamarat Guhai. Here it is the mango orchard. And Bhagavan left this mango orchard along with Palani Swami, and both of them, Bhagavan went. Palani Swami was following Bhagavan. Bhagavan went to the Arunagirinath temple near Ayyankulam tank. Ayyankulam tank, where he had his head shaven, where he had thrown away the remaining whatever clothes he was wearing, the sacred thread, the remaining sweets in his hand, as well as the remaining money which he had when he arrived at Tiruvannamalai. Everything he threw into that Ayyankulam. On one of the sides of the tank, Ayyankulam, is the Arunagirinathar temple. Arunagirinathar is famous in Tiruvannamalai as the devotee of Lord Muruga. And there are many leelas of Lord Muruga associated with Arunagirinathar. But Arunagirinathar is not a temple dedicated to that saint. It is Arunagiri is Arunachala himself. So Arunagirinathar is the temple, another temple of Arunachaleshwara. Arunagirinathar temple over there, and probably the saint also, since he was a Tiruvannamalai, resident of Tiruvannamalai, he must have been named after Arunachala as Arunagirinathar. So this Arunagirinathar temple Bhagavan went to, and he indicated through gestures to Palani Swami that we will go and beg for alms in different directions. You go one side, I will go one side. And it seems he indicated to Palani Swami also, you need not come back. We are now independent. You are independent. You need not come back to serve me. So, in one sense, Bhagavan also, if Palani Swami had felt, probably not at all, even the slightest unconscious or subconscious feeling had arisen in him that Bhagavan needed him, Bhagavan broke that illusion by saying, you go your way, I am going my way. Churnita Akhila Vibramaya. But of course, Palani Swami did not go anywhere. He just stayed. And this has been the story. If we look at Bhagavan's story, Bhagavan says there is no room for anyone here. Bhagavan does not show any inclination to have people staying with him. But if they stay, then he accepts them. He does not reject them. And that is the way Palani Swami stayed with Bhagavan. And then from the after few days at Arunagirinatha temple, Bhagavan moved on to the little hillock adjoining Arunachala, which is called Pavada Kundru. Pavada means coral. So it's called the coral hillock. On this Pavada Kundru, there is a temple of Ardhanarishwara. Ardhanarishwara is the great legend of Tiruvannamalai. Mother Parvati, after in sport closing Shiva's eyes, she came down on earth because such closing of his eyes had caused unforeseen darkness to envelop the entire universe. So she came down on earth to perform penance, to atone for this untimely disaster. And then she performed penance first at Kashi as Annapurna, then at Kanchi as Kamakshi, and finally she came to Arunachala. Apita Kuchambike, she did penance here and then got the darshan of Arunachala, Arunachaleshwara, Shiva, who accepted her plea, because he said he will give her grant her a boon, and he accepted her desire, her wish, her plea to be one with him physically as well, and granted her half his body and Ardhanarishwara. So this hillock as the temple of Ardhanarishwara, and Bhagavan stayed in this Pavada Kundru temple, in and around it, in a small room over there as well. And here a few months he stayed, and it would be here that Mother Alagamma would come and plead with him to return home. We will meditate on this aspect of Bhagavan's life in the future satsangs. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the chanting of Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivasa.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. நைந்தழிக்கனியா நலநிலை பதத்தில் நாடியுட்கொள் நலம் அருணாச்சலாம். நொந்திடதுந்தனை தந்தனை கொண்டிலை அந்தகனி என கருணாச்சலா. நோக்கிய கருதி மேதாக்கிய பக்குவம் ஆக்கினியாடருள் அருணாச்சலா. பற்றி மமிடந்தலை உற்றிரு முனமருள் பற்றிடருள் புரி அருணாச்சலாம். பார்த்தருள் மாலர பார்த்தில்லை எனினருள் பாருணக்கா சொல்வார் அருணாச்சலா. பித்து விட்டுன்னை பித்தனாக்கினை அருள் பித்தம் தெளி மருந்தருணாச்சலா. வீதியில் உன்னை சார் வீதியில் என்னை சேர் வீதி உந்தனக்கே அருணாச்சலா. புல்லறிவே துரை நல்லறிவே துரை புல்லிடவே அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பூமண மாமண பூரண மணம் கொள்ள பூரண மணம் அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பெயர் நினைத்திடவே பிடித்திழுத்தனை உன் பெருமையறிவார் அருணாச்சலா பேத்தனம் விட விடா பேயா பிடித்தனை பேயனாகினயன் அருணாச்சலா பைக்கொடியான பற்றின்றி வாடாமல் பற்று கொடாய்க்கா அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி. बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की.
Namo Ramana. We will conclude today's satsang with a Ashtottara puja. The puja will happen at Sri Dileep Simha's altar. The Ashtottaram will be chanted by Revathi Shankar, Uma and Ashwini Balaji. The Arati song will be sung by Revathi at the end of the puja. Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावली अपार सच्चित्सुखवारिराशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि. ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः. ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः. ॐ गुरवे नमः. ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः. ॐ महौजसे नमः. ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः. ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः. ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः. ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः. ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः. ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः. ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः. ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः. ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः. ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः. ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः. ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः. ॐ तीव्राय नमः. ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः. ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः. ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः. ॐ तपोमयाय नमः. ॐ उदासीनाय नमः. ॐ महायोगिने नमः. ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः. ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः. ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः. ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः. ॐ सवित्रे नमः. ॐ स्थिराय नमः. ॐ तपःक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः. ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः. ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः. ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः. ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः. ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः. ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः. ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः. ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः. ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः. ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्य दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ महर्षि नमो महर्षि बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।